The moment you start treating writing as this process to get better at consistently, rather than to be a better writer, the more you understand that your outcomes will be greater than you expect. In simple terms, you will become a better writer the less you think about writing. Let me explain. I have been writing books for the past 2 years of my life. I have been using this time to not only effectively change my life moving forward, but also understand the process to slow down and appreciate what's in front of me. That said, I still understand that writing is an art that takes forever to get. And like all kinds of art forms, you will never truly get better at it, but what you can do is be more consistent. If you don't know me, I'm Arnel Arcega. I'm one of the healthiest writers you will ever encounter. As an author, writer, and motivator, I make sure people stay on this path of reading and writing, and with this in mind, I'm going to teach you how to be more consistent as a writer to not only get more results in the long term, but also get a better outcome than you will ever anticipate. Let's start with what you can do as a writer. Consistency is all about showing up on time every single time. As a writer, we use this as a huge point of making things. It's not all about the world within our space, nor is it about the characters. It's all about writing the ideas down. This is important, especially when you're trying to tell a novel, simply because to tell a better story or a better illustration of one idea to the next, it's all about what you can do. Consistency is great in the fact that what it takes to be consistent and what it takes for me to be better is all about doing the same thing every single time. With my up-and-coming third novel, which you can check out my other two in the link in the description, there are plenty of things I've learned, especially with the pivotal role of writing. Creativity is one thing, but in the case of writing, it's all about making more with less. And this is why it's so important to illustrate that you will never be a better writer. It sounds mean, but it is true in the fact that no matter what you can write, you will write bad writing, even if you've been at this craft for years. Coming from my story, I've learned that many things about writing takes time. It's all about how much time things age, and it's all about how well you view it from other perspectives. My first book, A Small World Smiles, is one of those cases where not only I've learned a lot about it since my freshman year of high school, but I've also seen the natural progression I've took as a writer. I've not only been more consistent at what I do, but I also learned to be more considerate of what I say. In that first draft of that book, I've written over tens of paragraphs this long. They were huge. They filled up singular pages. I had no idea why I did that, nor what the hell I was thinking, but I've learned to appreciate that moment. It's weird because as much as I dislike that aspect of my younger self just constantly rambling about things, and I still do to this day, I've learned the true process to get better is consistency. Another area I want to illustrate about myself is the idea of YouTube. If you go back to one of the oldest videos, even if I've made hundreds of videos by this point, I've learned that there's so many different ways to go about this YouTube thing, and the best ones are the most consistent ones. As every video begins, I start right over there. Right behind this camera, there's a stool. Right there, I talk about the intro. From there, I move it over to tell this story and this message from these videos. And that's a similar case to what you are trying to write. As a writer, whether you're trying to make a novel, a piece of literature, or even just an essay, we need to understand that to be a better writer, you will never get good at writing the perfect material. What you need to do is all about consistency. People will care if your first book was fantastic, but if you can't write another book to that same caliber, then it will never reach those same standards. For instance, even though George Orwell written some fantastic books like 1984 and Animal Farm, there are a few hits and misses that I've personally found within his text. And it's one that has to do with how well we write. When we view pieces of literature, in many cases, like some of my favorite authors here, we learn that consistency with them is what drove them to write some fantastic pieces. One of the most notable examples for me is J.K. Rowling. Ignoring how you perceive her, her pieces of writing not only challenged your views, whether you've read the Harry Potter books or not, but it also influenced a huge wave of writing. And with how well it sold, it makes sense within the idea of making more writing. To be more consistent, it's all about improving your own habits. And like those books I listed prior, they have been written with the key aspect of just staying consistent. The easiest way we can stay consistent then is to improve yourself. When we think of improving ourselves, we want to think about improving our nature. More specifically, nurturing said nature. Nurture your nature is my favorite term that I've used for every single video of mine. In one way or another, this is the single most important point I want you to think about. In cases like writing, we can write the same thing from a difference between 1 day ago to a year ago. But it's all about what you do in between that time that determines how good of a writer you are. Let me explain. You can write the same sentence for both, something along the lines of a big dog, and yet the difference between both will be the execution as well as the attention, simply because you changed your surroundings. With how much time we have every single day, 24 hours is a lot to work with. And even if you spend a quarter of it sleeping, you still have plenty of time to change your life for the better. And this is important, especially when we think about how writing as a whole is a process that takes time. The more time we elevate ourselves to be better, the more we can use that time to write more consistently. The easiest way I learned to write more consistently is to expand your habits. The more habits you expand on, whether that's reading more books, exercising, or even just going on more walks, the better writer you become. It's not about spending your time staring at the computer screen. The more you do that, the more dead you become. You want to be energized and passionate about your writing. The moment you stop treating your writing as this passion project just because you want it to sell, the more likely it doesn't sell. It's just simple math. The fact that you don't want to be passionate about your book or whatever piece of writing you're doing will make it worse. And that is the reason why I said consistency. Consistently get to the piece of writing you want to do every single day. What do you want to do every day for the rest of your life? Do you want to just write a page, a paragraph, or even 2 pages? You could do a little bit more or a little bit less. But the more consistent you are with how much time you write, within a 1 to 2 hour block, let's say, the more better you can improve on your life, and that will make your writing better. Similar to YouTube videos, the execution will never be certain. You will never know how much your book will sell, and you will never know the sheer amount it will ever sell. But you can control what you do know. You can control the areas in your life that you're struggling with, and this is where consistency matters. Even if it's just in writing, it's all about the discipline, the tactic that makes you more likely to return to said things and interest yourself in making more. Do more with your life so that you can be a better writer. Every single Thursday after my classes, I always go out for a walk outside of my school. And this has been one of my most favorite activities I've done, simply because not only am I getting sunlight to be more healthier, but it also taught me to imitate the moment, to imitate a similar attribute to happiness. And it feels great to go outside. It feels great to experience the trees, just smell the air, and meditate for a single moment. I want writing to be something that many of us do, not because school rushes us. In school, we're taught to write so much faster. And while we get more consistent at writing faster, we are not becoming good writers. And instead, the more we push the idea of writing faster, the more AI is more likely to just write over things. Technical writing is an area that I believe that doesn't need this passion, as AI writing has got that covered. But in the case of real books and real literature that sells and can be taught throughout the world, we need more people like you. We need more people to think more as a writer. And to be a better writer, it's all about consistency and not being a, quote, better writer. You will never be. You can write terrible sentences no matter how old you get. I had a friend read over my book, and he straight up said that was a shit sentence, talking about a certain moment in that book. And it's honestly true. I don't blame him. I reread over the sentence and it just was convoluted. Too much technical areas here and there, and in particular, it just led me to feel astray and castrated because of what I was reading. What I can't control, however, is myself. I can control how much time I put into this book, what people I surround myself with this book, and who is in charge of the story at hand. Always remember you have control of what you're writing, and it's best to slow down if you want to be a better writer. To be more consistent, improve on the habits around you, nurture your nature, and just live freely in a life that tells you to speed up. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. If you can use this information, I'm telling you it will be a great benefit. If you want personal help in your writing, check out my Instagram down below, along with my other socials. Down there is my other books, and you can see exactly the process it took for me to be a more consistent and well-diverse writer. Until next time, keep on reading, keep on writing, and take care.